Passing it back over to you, Troy.
All right, giving you an update on the Resilience Experience Center. You're aware, the conceptual plan was approved on August 21st. We had community outreach meetings where we had our design team, SVA, come out. We did a series of about three community engagement meeting where we got input. The community gave feedback. We came up with a conceptual design. And so that's where we are at the moment. We're currently working on the CEQA study. That is part of the project where we have to do environmental studies, we have to do traffic studies, we have to do noise studies. I think light. So there's various studies to see what impacts are gonna come from this project that we will have to either mitigate, or they may not be a big enough impact for us to be concerned with. So that's currently happening, and that should be complete around January 2026. So we're currently moving into the schematic design phase. We're about 25% complete with that. And that should be completed by the end of October. And then from the schematic design, we go to design development. And that will start in November, and we should be complete with that phase around February 2026. And from design development, we go to construction drawings. And that starts in March, and we should be complete around June 2026. And from there, we go to plan check. So the plans, once they're completed, they'll be submitted to the County of Riverside for them to review and approve. And that will vary just depending on how fast the county can get to them and what their process is. It can take from a few months to several months. So we don't have a specific date, but I'm saying right now, probably anywhere from 2 to 4 months, just depending on how much attention and how well they're staffed to be able to get on that project. And then from there, it goes to the board for approval. Wants to go out to bid. So we're looking probably somewhere between the fall and somewhere in the fall and next year, 2026, as far as those plans being ready for bid. And the bidding will be out based on funding and having the funding to actually do the construction.
All right.
And so far to date, we've spent about $218,000 on the project for the design phase so far. And that concludes my report. I'm available for any questions that you may have.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
I know when we were having the workshops, there was conversations around like the landscaping portion. Is that part of the schematic design, or does that come later?
That'll be part of the schematic design. So that'll be coming, and then what'll happen is they'll give us, at the end of that phase, they'll give us that, and then we'll present it to the community and say, here, this is where we are. And in terms of the schematic design, each phase will come back to the community, let you know where we are and what happens next. So we just want to keep you guys abreast. So at that point, you guys see something that you have concerns about or questions, then we can address it then prior to moving forward.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions? Anybody have a question through Zoom regarding this project? And we're still looking for grants, right?
Yes.
You think Prop 4 will have enough? I know like at the beginning, there were a lot of, for centers, resiliency centers, the majority of the funds that I saw. I don't know, are we looking at any of those grants?
I know with the county, there's the TCC, they're putting out, I think they're having another.
Summer, spring of next year.
It's the summer, spring of next year. And as we talked at the last meeting, that's the one that probably provides us with the best chance of getting the amount of money we need. Most of the other grants will be smaller and maybe a couple of million here or there. As we discussed at the last meeting, Right now, the current cost estimate is about $26 million. And so sometimes with some of the smaller grants, and we have to be mindful that they have deadlines. And so sometimes if we get a smaller grant and the deadline comes before we're able to secure more money, that puts us in a spot where we either have to start without enough money or we have to give those funds back. So we just have to be mindful in terms of the grants that we receive or accept.
Is the grant you mentioned Summer Spring? That's the name of it, or is that?
No, it's called,
It's the TC.
TCC, so it's transformative community,
Mhm.
Climate
transformative
community.
community, climate community, excuse.
This one right, but.
Yep, so
Different.
TCC has different
Second
stages.
phase, yeah, the second phase.
Yeah, they have the planning, which is what we're currently in, and then they have the implementation.
Any other questions?
I wanted to ask the 200,023 that you guys spent, is that kind of what you guys estimated by this phase, or is that like a little bit above or a little bit below, like where you guys?
It's about right in terms of, first getting the schematic, but the conceptual design and moving into, CEQA, the CEQA study. So it's roughly around that time, give or take.
Any other questions? We'll move on to the next project, the solar and energy storage pre-development phase activity. So I'll give it to Grit.
Hello, good afternoon. I can share my screen if that's okay.
I believe I just, yes, I think I just gave you access.
Okay, perfect. Let me pull that up. All right. Just confirming everybody can see the screen.
In person, yes, I can see them.
Okay, perfect. So good afternoon, everyone. Jocelyn Eckert and my colleague Nadia Sanchez is also on the call. Like Crystal mentioned, Grid Alternatives Inland Empire is providing a number of deliverables for this grant. And a little bit about us is, we're a nonprofit solar installer, and through our work, we envision a rapid, equitable transition to renewable energy that benefits everybody, and that includes those who have least access to it as well. Through this grant, Grid Alternatives, we will say Grid moving forward. We are going to do a number of things. So we're conducting solar readiness site assessments. So that means greenhouse gas analysis for up to 50 homes. So we're assessing roof, electrical, shade, energy data to see what it would take to install solar for the residences of Mecca-North Shore for qualified low to moderate income homeowners. And through this, we're also preparing subcontractor bids, submitting permits for those upgrades, and actually completing some of that rehab work for the qualified sites. Additionally, we are going to be hiring 3 paid interns. We completed one. We're currently in progress for the second right now as well.
Jocelyn, just in case you're not able to see the chat, we did get a comment from interpretation. If you could just slow down just a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. Disculpas. So just for an update on our work plan for this grant, excuse the typo. So we have received 62 initial applications. 53 of those are still active. We also had 5 that we lost contact with, a few that were no longer interested, and 2 that were unqualified. We also started a wait list just because we did receive a substantial response, more than we anticipated this early in the grant, as a lot of our outreach took place earlier in the spring and summer. We have also identified the subcontractors, so we have our roofers ready and our electricians ready, vetted, and we have already started setting some bids over to them as well. So the rehab for some of the homes, and this is for the homes that are single family residents, not mobile homes, will begin soon. And those homeowners have actually been contacted. Last week, Erika contacted those homeowners as soon as we had the information and the data. And that rehab should continue through the end of this year. All applicants, even those that are in mobile homes and weren't qualified, should expect communications by the end of this week, just as we gather direct information regarding exactly what we would be able to offer those homes who are not compatible with solar. And just some lessons learned, like we mentioned, many sites that applied were unsuitable for rooftop solar due to the fact that they were not on a permanent foundation. There is a possibility to do ground mount systems, but more information and analysis is needed for those homes. But I think just a lesson learned is that, Mecca and North Shore don't have um, regular stick single family residences. And there's a need for, engaging those residents that still want access to renewable energy, but don't have space for it on their roof. Um, Next, I have a few slides. I want to thank Nadia on the call for getting these for us. This shows a map of the spread out of the applicants so far for the 53 that we have received. I believe the breakdown is, somewhere with like, I think 70-30, 70% are in North Shore and about 30% have been in Mecca, as you can see here. So a little bit more applicants in North Shore at the moment. And at our last meeting, we also got a request to provide some information on the data for the rehab that we have seen so far that is required. So Nadia, again, thank you for providing this brief breakdown that we have received for 10 properties, 10 sites, some ground mount potential. And for 11 sites, there was a need for re-roofing, and 4 sites did need a panel upgrade. We did have several sites that did not need either re-roofing or main service panel upgrade in order for a solar to take place. So that's another thing to um, throw out there, as this number doesn't equal the total that we've received so far. And final 2 slides, we are also conducting a microgrid feasibility study for the proposed center that was previously discussed. So right now, Jaime, our executive director, I believe he's been in contact with the architects, and they are working on getting some of that data that was required to go ahead and get started on this task. So this is really one of the next things that will be taking place throughout the end of the year, as well as getting some things moving for that feasibility study. And then finally, like I mentioned, for the job training, we do have 3 internships that we are able to paid internships that we're able to offer through our component. So far, our interns have helped us with community outreach, reaching the community, letting them know about this grant and what the purpose of it is. And now we also are looking for someone to help us contact homeowners, explain, the benefits of what they're receiving, and help them with any signatures of agreements that they need for the rehab to move forward. So the interviews have been completed for that. We have a tentative start date of early next month. And this is for the second internship out of 3. And recruitment for that third paid internship will take place this winter. If you have any questions or are interested in learning more about that third internship, please contact us at this phone number listed, 951-471-7043. We can keep your name on an interest list. You can also email us at trainingie@gridalternatives.org, or take a photo of this QR code and enter some data to get your name on an interest list for the next time we are recruiting for this internship. or attend this meeting on a monthly basis and I'll repeat the same information. And yeah, just a little bit more about the benefits. With solar, we want to bring the energy burden reduction, energy efficiency integration, and the workforce development and bring all those factors together. Like mentioned before, in terms of funding, we do really see the TCC implementation grant to tie really well with the work that we're doing now. Grid Alternatives has been part of several implementation grants, and we've seen these things play out. And this planning grant has done an excellent job at getting all of this information that is needed to make a successful implementation grant. And I'll just leave our contact information here for any residents or anybody who would like to reach the Grid Alternatives outreach team.
Does anybody have any questions for the grid team? Okay, we'll move on to the next item for transportation improvement for Avenue 70, the bridge.
Thank you, Jocelyn.
So I'll pass
All
it
right,
down.
I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so my name is Alfredo Martinez. I'm here to talk about the two projects that are part of this TCC grant. The first is a new bridge or a widening of a bridge on 70th and Cleveland Street. And the second is to construct bike lanes from the intersection of 2nd Avenue and Hammond Street in the community of Mecca, all the way to 70th Avenue and Seaview Drive in the community of North Shore. As can be seen on the screen, we're looking at constructing a 42-foot wide roadway section. Right now, there's existing 2 lanes and it's about 24 feet. So our concept right now is to widen both sides by 9 foot, so 18 foot total. We're still working through a couple of the tricky areas. The connection up at Mecca by the new Triangle Park that's being constructed is one of the areas we're focusing on. The second area we're focusing on is the new school right by 70th and Cleveland. And then the final area is actually going to require a little bit of coordination with the Resilience Center, since our project goes to Seaview, and our trail is probably going to have to switch to the north side there due to the current construction. We're going to have to work a way to fit the 18-foot bike lanes along the north side. So the community park and the Resilience Center is someone we have to coordinate with. For the bridges, we're still looking at the same 2 alternatives. The first alternative, which seems to be the community preferred alternative, is widening the existing bridge. Right now, all the widening is being proposed to the north side. The other alternative we have is essentially constructing 2 pedestrian bridges. So these are 2 smaller bridges just meant for pedestrians. The location they're being placed at is the ultimate location. So if the existing bridge here were to ever be constructed, our 2 pedestrian bridges could stay in place. So they're not throwaways at that point. So you can kind of see in the cross section how there's the 2 separate bridges in blue, and in gray is the existing bridge. In terms of our tasks, the TCC grant asked for 3 tasks for both of these projects. The first is to bring a consultant on board. That task has been 100% completed. We brought on Mark Thomas to do the design. The second task is the environmental document. For that task, we've conducted all of the technical studies, and we're now working on the draft environmental document. Our anticipation is that the draft is going to be completed sometime around January, and then it'll be publicly circulated for comments before it gets approved by our Board of Supervisors. The third task is the actual preliminary design for both of these. Right now, I would say that the bridge is at about 35% design while we evaluate the two alternatives. And the street plans are about 50% complete until we resolve the three issues I brought up. And that's pretty much the status of the county projects. So if there's any questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah, I have a question. Um, you mentioned that the draft environmental documents are estimated to be completed by January 2026. Does that mean that
Mhm.
then the alternatives have to be identified before that, or could that come after the draft documents?
So for the bridge alternatives, we'll probably have to identify which alternative we're going to go with by then. So I believe we'll have one of the bridges selected.
Um, what's the process for that?
So the selection's really going to depend on. So what our consultant is doing right now is it's called the type selection report. So they're looking at the pros and cons and the cost of each version. And then from there, it's going to go up to someone above me, probably a director or executive office member, for them to help us make a decision on which one's going to go forward.
Does that mean the community has no input, Alfredo? And it's based on the county decision to decide what's the best option instead of taking into account the needs of the community and all the feedback we have been received?
So so I think we've listened to some of the feedback from the community, and I've brought it up to our director. Like I mentioned, I know the community's preference is the wider structure, but if we can't fund the wider structure, then we might have to scope down to the two pedestrian bridges. So it's going to come down to how much money we can actually collect to construct the alternatives, as well as the pros and cons.
Um, okay, do you have an estimate for I guess when I guess that like those internal conversations are able to start? I think what I would like prefer, I guess, is that that information is shared with community in this space. Right prior to, prior to it going to like the board and stuff, I think what we see a lot, and one of the reasons why we decided, or one of the reasons why we really pushed for this space was to have a space where community is able to like, you know, uh, hear, I guess, what those pros and cons are. And also to understand where like the financial differences between those two, because even to date, like I myself don't understand what the like financial differences are. Um, and so would love to hear more about that here. But I know that we've also discussed canceling some of these meetings over the holidays, and so I guess a little concerned about um that like not, you know what I mean? Like that, I don't want to say lack of transparency because you are sharing it here in the space right now. But just not having an opportunity for community to like comment and to learn prior to like these decisions being made. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, as soon as I have the type selection report, I can pick out some of the details and the kind of the benefits of each alternative.
When is that report
Fortunately, I
estimated to
don't have that
be
data yet.
completed? For when,
I'm not sure. I would have to go ahead.
no, I just want to know when it's anticipated to be completed.
I don't have the schedule in front of me, so I'm not sure the exact timing, but I want to say it's probably around the next 2 months.
What month are we in? November, November.
And how much time in between? Okay, so I know these are just estimates, but let's say that report is done in November, so then like an alternative is at least identified. And then you said the draft environmental documents are done by January. And then when are you anticipating that going to the board?
So we have a 30-day circulation period for public comment. So it's going to be placed in different libraries. It's going to be at our office. It'll be on the county website for review.
We can
So once that 30 days is up, we then address all the public comments that come in on the environmental document, and then we'll come up with a final draft. So between the kind of the initial draft and the final draft, it's maybe 3 to 4 months. So we're still looking at hitting our deadline of June 2026 for the final document. So that's around the time the board's going to approve is next June.
Alternatively, what we could do is keep the December meeting, and then discuss the report then and bring it to the community, just so there's a presentation and understanding of how, TMLA got to the decision of which, design would be most beneficial or most feasible.
Have a discussion then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Is there an estimated difference of cost already that you guys have kind of figured out between the two plans?
Rough numbers, I think the pedestrian bridges were around 100,000 each, and the bridge widening was, I forgot if it was 1 million or 2 million, but it's substantial.
Substantial, yeah. I was like 200 to the 1 million.
Well, it's very good. That's why that is. Por eso es bueno, yo no sé para qué venimos a las juntas, con perdón, si ya habíamos decidido los residentes de North Shore, que lo más conveniente era ampliar el puente.
I don't see why we're coming to these meetings when we had already decided, the people of North Shore, that the most convenient thing would be to widen the bridge.
Entonces, sí, está obvio, es más barato hacer dos puentecitos a los lados que ampliarnos el puente, pero no es lo más conveniente para nosotros los que vivimos aquí.
So obviously it's cheaper to build two small bridges on either side. But that's not, it's cheaper to do that than to widen the bridge, but that's not convenient for the residents here.
Entonces, ¿qué tienen que decidir con perdón de ustedes, otra gente que no vive aquí, si nosotros somos los afectados y los que ocupamos diario este puente?
So, why is it that other people who do not live here are making this decision when we're the ones that live here and use the bridge?
I completely no. Bueno, yo entiendo sus comentarios. Question for Alfredo, I guess, is like in terms of funding, like there is a substantial difference. But similar to the other projects that we have going on, where like additional funding has to be identified, with knowing that we do have strong community support for the bridge widening, option, I guess what is the flexibility there in terms of, moving forward with the preferred option, knowing that obviously it may take some more time to identify or to get that funding.
So all grant, a lot of the bridge work that we currently do is HBP funding, and that's for bridges that are falling apart. This bridge is brand new. It was just reconstructed due to the washout a few years ago. So it's hard for this to qualify for grants using our regular funding source. So we're going to have to be creative on finding extra money that qualifies for bridge widening.
But I thought that what we had discussed in the past is that like there's two options that like one of them sort of plans for the bridge widening, whether that happens now or later. And so like sorry, my understanding was that like that we could move forward with that plan, with the intent of bridge widening in the future.
I think that was the side bridges. I think they gave enough room to widen the bridge later on.
Oh, okay.
That was my understanding.
Could you go back to the first plan or to the widening bridge plan, please?
Okay, here's the bridge widening.
It does elaborate for the.
My understanding was that the two little bridges, they're gonna put it like separate enough, so if later on, like there is funding or, a need or, desire, et cetera, to the bridge itself, the car bridge itself to be widened, that there would be space to do so. Was I correct in that, or?
Yeah, so I think, I don't know if it's clear, but the image is a little distorted. But yeah, the pedestrian bridge would be, I think we wouldn't have to build a portion of this, and then the bridge could stay as it is. Because right now, this bridge includes a sidewalk as well. So if we do the bridge widening, we'll have the bike lane right here. You could see there's a 5-foot bike lane and a 6-foot sidewalk, and we'll still have a 6-foot buffer. So if we go with this route, then it already has kind of everything the community needs. If we go with this one, when we widen, this will act as a sidewalk, so we can have a smaller bridge too.
My question would be, would making the two bridges and then in the future widening the bridge, wouldn't that be much more money than widening the bridge since the beginning?
Potentially, yes. So, I mean, it all comes down to however much money we can find. So if we can't find the money for this, and I mean, we'll be creative. We'll try to find the money for this if we can. If we can't, then this is a good alternative that still meets the needs of the TCC grant.
So just to make sure I understand. So the first option, you said it's $100,000 each for the bridge. So the first one would be the 100,000 because it's only on one side, right? No?
So the first one, it's,
No, so this would be 200, one on each side.
yeah,
See the blue on each side?
Yeah, 100,000
each. Yeah, so 200 total.
Right. And then the first option is how much?
Yes.
To widen the whole bridge itself is 1 million.
Okay.
Yeah, so somewhere between 1 and 2 million. I forgot the exact number.
For option one. Okay. Big ring.
I guess what I would want is if you could, if there's any way to give us more of an estimated number for this, for the whiting one, just, I know that you're saying about a million. But just if you could come back with that number for the next meeting, so that we could see, compare and I guess have comments on it.
Yeah, I can come up, or I can have our consultant come up with cost estimates for the bridge widening.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any other question?
You're welcome.
I do. Alfredo, like, should say hypothetically, there wouldn't be an opportunity to host a meeting in time to review that like pro con report that will be routed up internally in the county. Is it possible to add, like, say, like leadership council, like helps in creating like a letter from the community stating their preference, providing data, etc. Could that be packaged into the document, or not with that document itself, but packaged with whatever's being routed internally for it to be taken into consideration by, whoever, wherever this document, moves up to? Like as an alternative to not hosting a meeting, like should it be possible?
I think so. I think there's enough community feedback that prefers the alternative on the screen. If we have enough letters of support, we can present that to the higher ups and say, look, this is what the community really wants. Let's
Okay.
try to make this happen.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Oh,
You're welcome.
We have a comment, a question in person.
Ok, yo creo, de acuerdo a lo que estoy entendiendo, voy un poquito para atrás. Para todo necesita saber la comunidad en primer lugar de cualquier proyecto que haya a futuro, ¿no?
So my understanding, just to back a little bit, is like the community needs to know about any projects, right?
Yes.
Todo lo demás, es una pregunta tocante al puente y las banquetas. Al hacer las banquetas de 5 o 6 pies, como lo que estoy entendiendo, de ancho, quedaría bastante espacio entre el puente y las banquetas como para en un futuro enanchar más el puente.
So with the bridge and the sidewalks of 5 and 6 feet, like would still be enough space to widen the bridge later on?
¿En cuál dibujo se está enfocando? ¿En el que está ahorita en la pantalla o el de los dos puentes?
En el otro anterior.
Ok, en este sería una banqueta de 6 pies,
Okay.
un carril de bicicleta de 5 pies y van a haber 6 pies de separación.
Esa es la pregunta. ¿Y quedaría más?
Escogiendo este alternativo, sí, esto sería ya lo más ancho que sería el puente. No creo que tuviéramos otro proyecto para hacerlo más grande.
Sí, ese es el gran problema, porque muy angosto, pues no está bien, porque si en un futuro se tratara de enganchar el puente, va a ser doble gasto enseguida para tumbar los banquetas de nuevo y reconstruir todo. Entonces, si se hicieran las banquetas, como dice usted, de 5 o 6 pies, qué sé yo, y el puente dejarlo como está, necesitaríamos buscar la manera de dejar bastante espacio entre el puente y las banquetas para enancharlo en un futuro y no tener que destruir para enanchar el puente.
Bueno, si construimos el alternativo que se ve ahorita en la pantalla, lo que se está construyendo es lo de rojo, lo de gris todavía estaría ahí. Así que el puente ahorita tiene como, creo que 22 pies, son 2 carriles de 11 y 11. Cuando termináramos serían lo que expliqué ahorita, la banqueta de 6 pies el carril de bicicleta de 5, 6 pies de separación, serían 2 carriles de 12, otro carril de bicicleta, aquí estos 5 pies, y también 6 pies de separación. Así que haz de cuenta que tiene un carril de 18, los 12 y los 6, más los 2 carriles de bicicleta de 5 pies y luego la banqueta de 5. Así que sí estará bastante ancho.
Y entonces nada más es cuestión de hacer, de que ojalá que podamos hacerle saber antes de todo a la comunidad, porque como dice la dama, todo mundo, a mí me hacen muchas preguntas porque yo soy muy comunicativo en mi barrio, en mi área, y con la gente que trabaja conmigo. Entonces, están emocionados y mucha gente se emociona con mirar nada más los dibujitos, que mira, ay, qué bonito, qué bonito. Pues necesitan saber el proceso y todo, cómo va, el costo y todo. ¿Verdad? Y por qué no decirlo, yo también, de acuerdo, ¿por dónde vamos a empezar nosotros a hacer complaint? Yo pago taxis, todos pagamos taxis, ¿dónde están quedando? ¿Sí? Por ahí nos vamos a defender todos. Gracias, Alfredo.
I had a comment, maybe I just Googled about school buses and how wide school buses are. And it says that they're anywhere between 9 to 10 feet, 10.5 feet with the mirrors. So I just wanna throw that into a future, like, spot where buses are gonna be going up and down. So just like a thing to consider for future building. Like if you're saying that they're 11 feet right now wide, um,
It'll be 12 in the future, and then they'll have the 6 buffer, so,
so with the two bridges being on each side.
oh no. Wait, if it's just the 2 pedestrian, like on the
Yeah, if
side,
we,
they're the same.
So it would be 11.
It would be still 11.
So yeah, that's as a safety concern, just, I think that's pretty, I mean, an alarming, number.
yeah, and I mean that's definitely something for us to consider. That's been brought up before that sometimes when there's 2 big trucks trying to cross the bridge, it's not possible. So one truck has to kind of stay back and let the other one pass, which just blocks a lot of traffic. So it's something that the community has made us aware of in previous meetings.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Think good, Freda. Move on to the next one, letter E,
Thank you.
community outreach and engagement with Crystal.
Yes. Um, so for community outreach and engagement, I just wanted to briefly start off with what our sort of deliverables are for the grant. And so first things first, Leadership Council provides like bilingual outreach materials, whether that's, when we go door to door, having bilingual staff. We also create like the bilingual flyers. We'll do phone calls, texts, and any other materials or engagement methods that we use are always provided in English and Spanish. The other part of like our role in this grant was to support community members in completing and submitting applications to potentially be part of this committee that we are hosting at this moment. And so, we were able to nominate 6 community members from across Mecca and North Shore to also be part of this committee, as well as like helping establish and facilitate these meetings. And yeah, so that includes, drafting the agendas and the meeting minutes in both languages as well. And so this past month, as usual, Leadership Council did, the flyers and agendas, oops. ended the texts and emails to invite others to join us. We typically, let's say if there's a meeting where there's, excuse me, not a lot of updates, then we won't put as much time into phone calls, just because there are over 200 people on the contact list. But we will always send out mass messages and emails for those who are interested in joining us, especially for those who hadn't had a chance to hear the updates from the previous month. Given that it was summertime, I've mentioned before that we weren't as active in going door to door, but we are looking at picking that back up now that the weather thankfully is getting a little bit cooler. The other thing that I have been exploring and would like to move forward a little bit more in the coming months is that I know there might be some back to school events happening. So I was considering reaching out to the North Shore Elementary School to see if there's potential for us to table and to just bring more awareness over the Resilience Center and the changes that are being planned regarding the other projects. But if you all, if community members or committee members, either one, have any other suggestions or even events that you know of that you think would be helpful for us to table at, please feel free to let me know, and I'm happy to explore that as an option. Any questions? Great.
I just think coming back to school, I think they're probably done or so. I know like the one in Mecca, it's done. And today there was another meeting. So I know there's an event in North Shore.
Mhm.
I think it's gonna be next week or so. I could get you the info.
Okay,
that one.
yeah, also, like, I know they're usually during the fall, they have like
The fall festival that they do, I think they do at the park in Mecca. I think that's a recreational. I think it's pretty good event, pretty good uncomfortable. So maybe that'll be, but it's at night time too. So I'm not sure about the hours.
No, it's okay.
But I
I'm
think-
pretty flexible.
Just an OT.
We can definitely get you an activity guide.
Awesome.
Right over there.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next meeting, item, grant management, so we'll pass it down to Anjanette.
Yes, so we completed our fourth draw earlier this month. And to date, we have spent 10% of the total award, so 399,000 with 615 with 73 cents of the total of the 4 million awarded with the TCC grant. You'll see in that little chart, I also shared it with you, Crystal. The blue represents everything that has been spent per each task and each entity. Under the task title, you can see the total awarded per task and entity. And the gray is the remaining that each task has to spend down. Yeah. If you have any questions, let me know.
I guess like the same that I asked Troy, like, is that? What do you guys expect? Or are you guys under, or are you guys over? How do you feel the budgeting?
I think the budget's going still like pretty well. I definitely anticipate, well, you can see from the graph, TMLA and DRDA, they do have the biggest chunk of the total award. And as TMLA and DRD start getting more into the nitty gritty in the upcoming months, I do anticipate them spending down a good amount. I already saw Troy within this last dual DRD, not Troy. DRD spending a good amount in this last draw 4, so I just anticipate a good amount coming forth in the upcoming draws. But they're getting now into the nitty gritty of the spending.
If there were any leftovers, can they be passed over to the implementation phase, or is that a no?
No, if anything would be not spent, we would most likely have to return the funds back to the state. But I don't anticipate the funds not being spent. Especially like when you think about it, like we applied for these funds like over a year and a half ago, like since then inflation costs have gone up, so I don't anticipate folks not spending down their money.
Thank you.
Troy, you wanna return some money?
No, I was just saying, hope you don't come ask for more.
So does anybody have any questions, comments? Okay, we'll move on to the next item and future agenda items request. So give that to Krista.
Are there any requests for future agendas? Future agenda items?
So this is just whatever they would like to see discussed, correct?
That isn't already like, yeah, that isn't in typical.
Additions.
Mhm.
I get like the letter that we mentioned for the winding of the bridge, if that could be
Mhm.
something that could be followed up on. Yeah. And if we're going that route, when can we expect something like that so that it could be distributed to the community?
So by the next meeting, would like to have something drafted.
Yeah, if we're going, yeah, if we're going through that route, yeah.
Or if, Alfredo, if you can follow up in the next meeting, like specifically under you, if it would be feasible or there's time to have you or, somebody else on your staff to come and discuss that pro and con report and obtain, other community feedback in addition to what you've heard already. If not, then yeah, I think the letters of support would be the best move forward.
Yeah, generally letters of support are also good for trying to search for grant money as well, because that's one of the first things they ask is, do you have community support? So
So with
I
that,
would
should
say
we,
if you can, just write the letter anyways.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you can please come back
I
to the
mean,
next.
we can still go and present the findings once we have them.
Yeah, I think that would also be beneficial. And then if you can also bring in the next meeting, like a more exact amount of the widening of the bridge cost, not just the 1 million, between 1 million and 2 million.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
En esta próxima agenda no podría entrar lo de los drenajes aquí de North Shore.
On the next agenda, could you not add the drainage or the sewage here in, North Shore?
No, because do I want to say in English or Spanish?
English.
Okay.
Utilize the interpretation.
Yeah. No.
However you'd like to tell me.
Yeah, no, because these are specific to the project that are under the TCC grant. And the drenaje is not a project under the TCC, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
Me interesa saber a mí, mira, ya sabiendo que nosotros no tenemos nada que tener con eso, yo la puedo escuchar. No sé si es algo que se puede, or like, I'm just curious.
Sorry, say that again.
I'm curious to know what her comment is.
Mi comentario es pues que la ciudad de North Shore no tiene drenaje.
Well,
Y necesitamos drenaje para todo, porque son la fosa cuando se llenan es un desastre. Tenemos banquetas, pero si no tenemos drenaje, no pueden poner banquetas, no pueden poner alumbrado, porque todo va junto.
we don't have drainage here, so we don't have drains in North Shore. And then, so the well gets filled up, and if we have sidewalks, then we need drainage for those. We need to have that together.
Por eso se me hace algo muy importante que tengamos en North Shore.
That's why I think it's very important for us to have that in North Shore.
Like I mentioned, I followed up with everybody. I think the North Shore Mecca Community Council will be held November 2nd. I'll be following up with them closer to that date to confirm that they have quorum. And then I'll go ahead and, share that information with everybody on this committee. So, community members can go and like speak out to like concerns like the drain and any other concerns that, the community has. But unfortunately, the last meeting was canceled due to lack of quorum.
Cuando mire al señor Manuel Pérez.
Muchas veces. hecho yo solo.
lo escogemos, lo elegimos.
Yo solo.
Okay. Anybody else have a?
So just
And
to
it's not-
confirm,
Oh.
I think we've sort of come to the conclusion that a community letter is good regardless.
Yeah.
And so I can do my very best to come back with a draft next time and then but I will probably keep it at least a little bit broader and then maybe add on to it depending on what we hear that day from the details with Alfredo and comments from community members. But I can definitely get started on that. And we'll add it on the agenda as like a discussion item.
Thank you.
Mhm. I will also add, because I didn't this time, just an item on there about, our meeting schedule moving forward.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Well, thank you everybody for joining today. So with that, we'll end our meeting officially. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my God. His voice is so deep.